Okay, so welcome back everyone to our Committee of the Whole meeting, which resumes following an in-camera session as well as Bylaw Policy Committee meeting. Reminder that we are being recorded and you can watch this via live stream. It's on our YouTube channel, and for your convenience, it will also be on Telil for the next 7 days. So I'll begin by acknowledging that we are gathered here today in Unama'ki, the land of the fog, a part of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. We honor and thank the Mi'kmaq for sharing their land and home with us. So we have no recommendations from in-camera. Whenever we have an in-camera meeting, we always put that on the agenda in case, but there are no matters to come forward in form of motion. So next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. So that was circulated last week. And if there's any additions, I would entertain that. Otherwise, I would look for a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated. So moved by Deputy Warden Membercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Brent Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda for folks who are following at home is in your electronic package. It's pages 4 to 7. So it is a review of the minutes held on, what day was it held? The January 13th, 2026. So is there any errors or omissions to report? If not, I would look for a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Sean Sampson. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Warden Membercat. Anything to add on that front? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. And so now we are into the presentation portion of the evening. We have two. We have some folks that are in person, and our next presentation has virtual presenters, but regardless, we're going to introduce our first presenters. So we have Molly Foster, who is the Community Navigator from Clean Nova Scotia. Clean Foundation, and Martin Thompson, who is the Manager of Energy Sector Development for, which is a shared position between the Municipality of the County of Richmond and the Town of Port Hawkesbury. And they're going to speak to us today about the Community Climate Capacity Program. So folks are following along at home. That package is available, or those slides, that's the word I'm looking for, are on pages 8 to 20, but you'll be able to watch it hopefully in the live stream. So I will turn it over to you folks, and looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm here with Molly Foster, as the warden said, from the Clean Foundation. Molly is our community navigator from Municipality of the County of Richmond. I'll just give a brief background, and then Molly can go into much more detail about Municipality of the County of Richmond applied to be accepted into the second cohort of this program with the Clean Foundation in late spring of last year. We were successful in that application. Clean Foundation then did their recruitment for Community Navigator, and Molly was onboarded into this position in September. Like myself, Molly also covers the town of Port Hawkesbury, so in effect, Molly is a part-time resource for a municipality of the County of Richmond. So Molly will be with us for 3 years, so I think it'll be until autumn 2028 or thereabouts that Molly can lend her support. Today, Molly will take you through an introduction to the Clean Foundation and the Community Climate Capacity Program. I will then speak after Molly and talk a little bit more about the specific objectives to Richmond County that Molly will be helping us out on, and some of them she will also be leading. So I will hand over to Molly for now.
Great, thank you. I'm a community navigator for Clean Foundation, and like Martin said, I specifically work with Port Hawkesbury and the County of Richmond to advance their climate objectives and projects. And I'll just get right into our little about section. So Clean Foundation is an environmental organization that helps communities prepare for the realities of a changing climate. We protect local environments and build stronger, more resilient places to live and work. As a trusted partner to governments, nonprofits, and community organizations, we implement practical programs that deliver meaningful results across the region through initiatives like clean transportation, workforce development, educational programming, and energy efficiency. So quite broad. The Community Climate Capacity, which I work with, or CCC for short, because it's kind of lengthy, is made possible through funding from the Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change, and there's no cost for participating communities like Richmond and Port Hawkesbury. The Community Climate Capacity Program was created to help Nova Scotian communities act on climate change by providing a dedicated staff, myself, and a team of specialists behind me, helping to guide participating communities through climate and sustainability initiatives at the local level that you're already working on. So working with communities, we set ambitious goals for our 3 years together. That's, like Martin said, till the end of March 2028. Some examples include updating climate plans, addressing flooding through adaptation and policy, conservation of land, creating community energy and emissions plans, upgrading infrastructure and assets to make them more resilient to natural disasters, and much more. So here's a map of the participating communities that we have, with geographic spread pretty much across the province, all of whom are assigned a community navigator or climate lead like myself to support their climate objectives. And in May of 2024, when we started this program, we started with pilot communities across Nova Scotia to work towards supporting community climate action and resiliency. That was 16 municipalities, 1 Mi'kmaq community, 1 African Nova Scotian land trust, and a rural enterprise network for a total of 19 pilot communities. And in October of 2025, we officially welcomed nine additional municipalities, one of which is Richmond County. So this is an exhaustive list of resources that the CCC program can offer participating municipalities. It includes funding application support, climate planning, project planning, policy development, project implementation, natural asset management, research, data acquisition, network leveraging, and training and capacity building support. The aim of the Community Climate Capacity Program is to offer dedicated staff resources to support climate initiatives, help communities identify climate risks and opportunities existing, and support the development and implementation of climate adaptation and mitigation projects that are already identified as a priority within the community. What the structure of this looks like is myself, a community navigator or climate lead, who liaises directly with their assigned communities. In that case, I work a lot with Martin. And as well, a team of specialists who, on an as-needed basis, can provide expertise and support in key areas such as policy and planning, adaptation and mitigation, funding and engagement, and GIS and research. And lastly, we have our program managers who support the direction of the CCC program as a whole and liaise with program partners. So I'm the primary contact. There's a staff of specialists who work for CLEAN, and the program manager has some overall insight and can connect the participating communities to each other when needed. Since the spring of 2024, when we first initiated the program, we've enrolled in mitigation and adaptation-based programs, hosted a wide range of community engagement events, and applied to multiple funding streams that have resulted in a cumulative $13.2 million awarded to the communities we work with. So 380 community engagements as well, and 25 program participations that can be climate programs that will help your community advance a certain project. and some community highlights that have gone through the CCC program and are ongoing. You'll see Mary over there works with CBRM. And there she assisted the fleet manager and staff at NSCC to organize the first instance of the NSCC Electric Vehicle Safe Service and Maintenance course on Cape Breton Island. The program has never been offered outside of HRM. We also have the Jitney Trail project in the town of Pictou, which will enhance the trail to prevent further erosion through rock toe and vegetated embankment design. And with that, I'll hand it over to Martin to go more specifically into the county's objectives.
Thanks very much, Molly. Okay, so kind of looking at some of the things we put in our application to the CCC program that we were setting out for Molly to work on. So there's kind of some things we're looking for Molly to lead, and there's some things we're looking to Molly to support current staff on. So in where we're hoping Molly will take a leading role is first up sort of developing a new climate plan and framework for the municipality. There's currently a 2013 Municipal Climate Change Action Plan. So we've asked Molly to have a good thorough look at that one and see what's still relevant, and perhaps are there new things that needs to go in it, or now there are other things that needs to go out. So really, as she's doing that, and as I go through these different projects, we also want Molly to kind of be the glue in the municipality that is kind of connecting all these strands of work that I work on, these new strands of work I'm going to talk about, and other staff are working on, and kind of bring it all together under this new climate plan and framework. So right now, a lot of desk research, a lot of getting familiar with current projects, and as we kind of progress with this, we also foresee some stakeholder engagement around this, certainly internally at first, but maybe also out in the communities. So next up, we have the Community Energy and Emissions Plan, the CEEP. You might have seen my updates on this in the CAO operations report. So we're really looking for Molly, once that CEEP has been developed. This is another program delivered by Clean Foundation, I should say. We're really looking to Molly to lead some of the implementation efforts from the start there. So the recommendations coming out of this Community Energy and Emissions Plan, we're hoping Molly can help identifying relevant funding avenues and kind of lead those funding applications as they're getting drawn up, designing projects around it, and any research that needs to go into that as well. And yeah, as I said, this is one of those strands that will be feeding into a new climate plan and framework. So an ongoing project we have on the go right now with consultants is an extreme storm event flood hazard mapping for Point Tupper. We're expecting this one to be finalized this spring, and really we're hoping for Molly to take a leading role in the implementation efforts, but in the beginning I think it's going to be more heavily out there talking about this study, making sure our industrial users in the park know what's in the study, and also facilitate some stakeholder engagement with these industrial users and provincial government to, okay, so we know now what the potential impacts are, what are we going to do about it? So yeah, so really looking to Molly to help and the whole system within the Clean Foundation of Specialists to kind of help identify needed mitigation and adaptation measures. One that's not on here, but it's kind of evolving in the last couple of weeks, so it didn't make it into this, but we're also looking at enrolling in Efficiency One's municipal roving program. So basically this is where you get an assigned Efficiency One municipal energy manager, I think it's called, and they're basically making an assessment of all the municipal buildings, like you do with a home energy assessment, and then they'll give recommendations for retrofits and kind of give you an estimation for the cost of doing those estimates and the kind of payback period on that as well. So we're kind of looking for Molly and I to kind of be the point persons for the municipality as we're liaising with Efficiency One and getting out into the municipal buildings. We're also currently speaking to them about including some community facilities on that list, but that's ongoing, so yeah, we'll see. Okay, so some of the things we've asked Molly to work on in a bit more of a supporting role is our climate ready plan process that is currently led by Steve as the emergency services coordinator for the municipality. So the consultants working on that is really involved in its early stages, I think. It's data gathering stage, so really looking to Molly to kind of help. They're coming asking for data. Molly will help us dig that data out. And again, once that process is up and running and as we get results from that, feed it back into the new climate plan and framework. EDPC is running a flood and inundation project at the moment. So I think that's CBCL that's delivering that for Cape Breton. They are just starting their stakeholder engagement. So again, really looking for Molly to help us provide data that they require, but really just sort of staying up to date on this project so we make sure that any findings relevant for Richmond County is included in our climate plan and framework. And then finally, Council will be familiar with the Strait of Canso Clean Fuels Domestic Use Strategy, so we're expecting a final report on that end of March. So really looking for Molly to help myself out as the Manager of Energy Sector Development in the implementation of those recommendations. So keep bringing the stakeholders to the table on that, designing these projects, and crucially finding the funds that's going to help us get some of this stuff off the ground. So those are the kind of set objectives we have. However, I think it's okay to say it's a fairly flexible program, the CCC, so we can also kind of call on Molly to help us capitalize on opportunities as they arise. So Molly can really provide support or lead on climate action-related activity when opportunities arise. So that can be identification of funding opportunities. Molly is already doing a very thorough database of funding opportunities that she's tracking and leading the funding applications for that, coming up with project ideas and really anything under the fairly wide umbrella that's climate action. So some of the early wins we already have had with Molly is Molly wrote an application to the Climate Ready Infrastructure Service, which was really looking for updated scope of works and estimated cost for the repairs that are needed to Unity Drive. We have after the damage is done by Fiona. That was a grant of 20,000 that Molly secured us, and we now have a fresh set of consultants with fresh eyes that are coming in and updating a 3-4-year-old quote on that one, because it has deteriorated since, so we need an updated information on that one. Molly has also supported EDPC as they are developing an application to the Coastal Planning Support Program. I believe that's application's due tomorrow. Yep. Yeah, so Molly's done a bit of lifting on that one, helped develop the scope of work, filled out the application form. I think John Bain is fairly pleased with the support he's been getting. And one I didn't include here as well, from our participation in the CCC program, we were also allocated 15 emergency kits. So through Molly to Steve as the emergency services coordinator, and that will then and might already be distributed further out into the community where they are needed. So that's it from us. We're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. It is great to see these kinds of opportunities bringing to bear applications and funding and all of that. So happy to hear any questions from councillors. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thanks, Warden, and thank you guys. The climate plan for Richmond County has been on my hit list for, 5-6 years, however long I've been sitting here. I'm super excited that this is finally going to get some attention, and I know it's just boiled down to resources. So great to have you folks as resources on this. So where are we at with it? Like, how are we feeling about it? Do we have a sense of the timeline? How you're going to approach that? Will there be some community engagement, et cetera? So tell me what you can.
I can maybe go first, and then Molly, if you want to. So really right now it's reviewing the 2013 document, finding out what might not be so relevant anymore, what can go in it. And then as Molly gets more familiar with all the projects I just ran through, that's when we can start looking at, okay, what's the new stuff that needs to go into it. And then I think for the engagement, we were thinking about having a session with staff and council, sort of first to test some of these ideas, get some sort of sign off or whatever it is we need, and then perhaps have some conversations out in the community about it. But Molly, do you have anything to add? Or?
No, I'll just say that we're preliminary stages for
Yeah.
that. And it will definitely advance as projects are kind of, as reports come out as well publicly, so.
So just sort of as a follow-up to that, what I would offer is, you know, I don't want to speak on behalf of the CEPI or Bidaba, but I think those groups would have an interest in having a discussion with you. Being a representative on both, and knowing that, you know, we touch, you know, in Richmond County along the Bridor, it would be really great to maybe just put those folks on your radar for a conversation. Okay, great, thanks.
Go ahead, Councillor Marchand.
Thank you, Warden. Can either of you speak of, you spoke of efficiency one and the retrofits for municipal buildings, and I heard you speak of community halls. So is that what Andy Thompson came here for? So you guys are going to try to get involved with the halls and I guess help us on that front?
We just met with Nirvan, was it Nirvan? Yeah. Last week, and his program speaks exactly to what Andy was looking at, so we asked a couple things. Can we look at the community buildings, and can we also look at the Village of St. Peter's with us as well?
Nirvan?
Yeah, is his name? Yeah. So we're using his program to try and achieve what we're doing with Andy's as well, and I have a follow-up with Councillor Thompson next week on next steps for us through his, and just make sure that we're not duplicating efforts, and that what he's doing or Nirvan is doing, we're capturing all those opportunities for the assessments of the buildings, what projects are possible, what funding's available, and who's ready to go.
Go ahead.
So is there a lot of funding through the Clean Foundation for these kind of things, or is that more for climate action projects?
We don't directly provide funding, but I can assist with funding applications as needed, so, yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. It's great to sort of see that coming to fruition after a long time of it being on the books. So thank you very much. It was a great presentation. Thank you. Now we're going to cross our fingers and hope that we transition to our next presentation, which is 3 folks who are attending virtually. So I'll introduce them while we hopefully get this going. So we have Laura McLean, who is the Assistant Director, Steve Howley.
Steve's not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, then 2 people, and Anne Smith Macquarie, who is an assessor, and they are with Property Services, Property Valuation Services, so PVSC, and it is regarding the Richmond County assessment roll for 2026. Oh, look at that! I tried to talk slow. So, can you hear us, folks?
Yep.
Oh, great, and we can hear you. Okay.
Are you able to see the PowerPoint up on the screen?
We are, yep, great. So I've just introduced you, and we're happy to have you. So thank you for taking the time to join us. So we'll turn it over to you and let you go through your presentation, and then if councillors have questions, we'll go from there.
Laura McLean, and I'm one of the assistant directors with Property Valuation Services Corporation. And I'm joined by my colleague Anne Smith Macquarie. Both Anne and I reside on the island. I'm over in Victoria County, and she's in Inverness County, and has done a lot of work in the Richmond County area over the years. So we're really excited to be here and happy to share the presentation. Just a little bit about Property Valuation Services Corporation as we start off tonight. And we usually shorten our name to PVSC just to keep things from getting too wordy. But our organization was created under the Property Property Valuation Services Corporation Act, and we're responsible for assessing all property in the province of Nova Scotia under the Nova Scotia Assessment Act. So what that means is we deliver an assessment roll to all 49 of our municipalities and over 650,000 assessment notices to property owners each year within the province. We are municipally funded and a not-for-profit organization, and we are governed by a board of directors. We have approximately 135 employees working in 60 communities province-wide. So this is just a little bit about the services we provide, and then some of the services that we don't provide, just so there's no confusion in case questions come up. However, PVSC does deliver the assessment roll to the 49 municipalities, as I had mentioned previously, as well as the 650,000 assessment notices to all of the property owners in the province. And then we do administer 2 programs on behalf of the provincial government. The first is the Capped Assessment Program, or sometimes referred to as the CAP for short. The second is the Seasonal Tourist Business Designation Program, and again, they're both on behalf of the province. Those aren't our programs; we just administer them. So some of the things PVSC does not do. We don't have the authority to determine land ownership in the province of Nova Scotia, and we also don't set tax rates, collect taxes, create tax policy, or provide any tax relief. So you may be wondering how we determine property assessments, and we follow what's called market value. So essentially that is the amount at which, in the opinion of the assessor, would be paid if the property were sold on a date prescribed by the director in the open market with a willing seller and willing buyer. And we refer to that as our base date. So for the 2026 assessment roll, we're looking at a base date of January 1st, 2025. So what we're saying with that statement is that the assessments should reflect the market value of properties as of January 1st, 2025. The other important date is what we call the state date. And so for the 2026 assessment roll, the state date is December 1st of 2025. So that wasn't too long ago in the past. And the purpose of that date is to show that the assessment reflects the state of the property as it existed on the first day of December, immediately preceding the filing of the roll. And what we mean by state is, does it represent the buildings on the property? So was anything renovated? Were any new structures built? Was there a demolition of a building, etc.? So exactly what was on the property as of that date. Part of the market value and coming up with the values of properties, we follow 3 approaches to value laid out on the screen here. And these are industry-specific valuation approaches that assessment jurisdictions use internationally, nationally, and all over. So the first one I'll speak about is quite common. It's the sales comparison approach. And this one provides an analysis of sales of comparable properties to determine value and adjust for local market conditions. So the best way to think about this is in the residential housing market, sales of similar houses would show indications of what market value is for that particular area, typically. The second approach is the income approach, and that is typically used for commercial properties that have an income stream. So if they have commercial tenants that pay rent to operate in the space, that type of a thing. And how that works is you're determining the income of a property based on the revenue earned, and then taking off the expenses. And then that value is converted to a net operating income. And what we use is a formula, that there's what we call a capitalization rate, and that helps to determine the market value. So those are specifically to income-producing commercial properties, typically. And the third approach is the cost approach. And this one can be for special purpose properties, some commercial or industrial properties, as well as residential. So it's kind of a catch-all. It will apply, could apply to any of those property types. And what this one includes is the calculation of a land value plus the current cost to replace any buildings on the property, less any depreciation or deducting for depreciation. Because as we know, buildings do depreciate over time, so that would be reflected in the value, any wear and tear of that type of thing. So one of the main factors that helps determine market value is sales data. And PVSC, we receive property sale information directly from the Nova Scotia Land Registry. So that comes into us quite often, and we're able to keep up to date on sales. One of the things we do when reviewing sales is trying to determine if they meet the criteria of an arm's length sale between a willing buyer and a willing seller. And that is discussed in Section 42 of the Assessment Act, if you're curious for more details. So some of the ways we investigate or review sales to determine if they're arm's length are contacting sellers or buyers or other parties to the sale. We can also review real estate listings to verify and update property data. So any sales that meet this criteria, we do include in our analysis. So it's important to have a large cross-section of sales when doing the analysis. So we try to look at every sale that comes across us from the Nova Scotia Land Registry. And one of the important pieces for that is by analyzing how the market transacts in different areas around the province, we can determine what we call homogeneous market areas. So those might be large, like geographically large areas. So I'll give an example would be rural. Rural areas are quite spread out. There's not as many sales, and so we would be looking at maybe a larger geographic area in that case. However, in more urban or densely populated areas, we might be looking at, say, a neighborhood or even a street or a subdivision, that type of thing. So it really depends where we are in the province and what the local market is doing. So in areas that have few or no sales, we do often have to expand our analysis in a couple of ways. The first being expanding it geographically to similar or like areas that are nearby. The other thing we can do is, it's called time trending, which is an industry practice whereby we measure the influence of time on prices and trends, and we basically trend those sales forward to the date in question. So for an example, sort of in real life terms, is say we had an area with very few sales for the base date, to support the base date of January 1st, 2025, we might look a couple of years back and then trend those sales forward to include in the analysis. So I'll just finish up before I pass the baton over to Anne with the CAPT assessment program. And again, this came about in 2005. The provincial government introduced the CAPT assessment program, and what it does is it places a cap on the amount that the taxable assessment for eligible residential property can increase year over year. And what that figure is based on, or the cap is based on, is the Nova Scotia Consumer Price Index as of October. So for 2026, our assessment year in question, the cap rate is 2.6%. So basically what we're saying is, as of October of 2025, the Consumer Price Index in Nova Scotia was 2.6%. So it's relatively easy to look back in time, and you'll see with the green table just below the historic cap rates. So last year for the 2025 assessment roll, we had 1.5%. But when you start looking further back, especially in those COVID years, you can see how high it jumped all the way up to 7.7 in 2023. So it's just always interesting to see how that CPI is reflective of what's going on with the Consumer Price Index. The last piece I'll point to on this slide is the blue table at the bottom, and this is just like a cutout of what the assessment notice looks like. And they just came out around mid-January, so they're quite fresh off the press. And you'll see there's the 3 boxes. I just want to point it out to you in case you get questions from constituents or whomever, what those 3 boxes mean. So the assessed value is the first box in the green there, of $226,800. That is the market value, and that will reflect the January 1st, 2025, and the December 1st, 2025 state date. So that's what we're saying the market value is for this particular example. However, there is, in the orange, is the capped assessment, and that's $114,500. So that reflects basically whatever the capped value was the year before, plus 2.6%, is the $114,500. And then the third box with the blue outline is the taxable assessed value. So that's the value that the property taxes would be based on. So I just want to distinguish those values. And I do also want to point out, and Anne's going to touch on appeals in a couple of slides, but when someone does appeal their assessment, they are appealing the market value. So the first one in the green, because the cap value is what it is. It's based on the consumer price index. So we do get that question a lot, so I just wanted to point it out that they would be able to appeal that first one, the $226,800. So now I'm going to ask Anne to present the next couple of slides before we maybe have some questions.
Good evening. I'm going to go over some of the specific details for Richmond County. You can see on this chart we have the past few years of the total assessed roll, the total of the assessment roll. I'll be focusing on the furthest left column, 2026. We'll start with the total assessment roll this year for Richmond County is $1,656,000,000. A little bit up higher from last year. You can see it's a steady increase over time. And to break that down a little further, the residential value is $1,359,000,000. And then the next number is the residential number as the cap is applied. So this reflects the cap savings that many of the residents enjoy with the cap program. So that number is $1,060,000,000. And then the final number is the total commercial assessment, and that's at $296,000,000. And then the next graph here is reflecting the number of sales we use for our analysis for 2026. So you can see we have 257 sales that we reviewed. Those sales would have happened in 2024. So we look back to 2024 to determine our reassessment values for 2026. And then the next slide will show us the number of permits we inspected. This is new construction, renovations, work orders, different reasons why we would go up to a property to review what's there. So there's 143 permits in Richmond County in 2025 that were reviewed by us. And that's down slightly from the year before. And then the final slide will show us the number of appeals that we received last year. So in 2025, we had 245 appeals in Richmond County, also a little bit lower than the previous year. And just to talk about the appeal process, as Laura mentioned, each property owner receives a notice assessment in January, early to mid-January. I think they went out on the 12th of January this year. And there's another image of the assessment notice, what a property owner would be seeing on their notice. If a property owner disagrees with their assessed value, there's an opportunity for them to file an appeal. So that's what's going on right now with us. So February 12th, on Thursday, is our deadline for to receive appeals for the 2026 assessment year. The instructions on how to file an appeal are on the assessment notice. There's mail it. Well, it's probably too late to mail it now, but it could be faxed or emailed, and there's a few ways for us to receive it. And when you file your appeal, or when a person files their appeal, there's 3 levels to the appeal process. The initial one is the initial review by the local assessor. Then there is an opportunity to go to a tribunal. We call that the Nova Scotia Appeal Tribunal, where that will be reviewed by a third party, independent party who reviews the grounds for the appeal and the assessor's defense of the appeal. And then there is the the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board is the 3rd level for the appeal process. And if people have questions about their assessment, they are welcome to call and let us know, or we can chat about the details of their account. If they have any concerns, there's the phone, the 1-800 number, and we're happy to discuss their account with them and go over any concerns they have. So there's 3 ways: the phone number, there's an inquiry, email, and then there's an opportunity to comment on the website, pvsc.ca.
Thank you very much. That was all we had. So if there's any questions, please let us know.
Sure. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time that went into that. I will say that I attended a webinar that the NSFM hosted that you folks did, which was even more detailed. So it is very interesting information. So kind of take an opportunity to kind of help you field some questions. So Deputy Warden, sure.
Thank you, Warden, and thanks for your presentation this evening. It is always informative and interesting to kind of see how things are trending as well. I did want to ask you, you talked about 245 appeals that were received, I think, in 2025 in Richmond County alone. Do you have a sense of how many of those appeals are successful coming from Richmond County, or in general, is there do you have a sense of like what percentage of appeals are adjusted as a result?
Yes, absolutely. So Richmond County is sitting at about 41% of appeals adjusted, and that's based on the 2025 roll that has passed. Of course, we're just getting into appeal season now. And across the province, it does hover around that 35% range. So 41% is in line with that for sure.
Wow, that's much more than I thought. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's really good information for residents. To kind of paraphrase that folks in Richmond County who opened up their envelopes and said, "Not sure that this is really accurate." Those folk, for every 100 people who wrote in or contacted PVSC, 41 of them had an adjustment. So really interesting to hear. Is there anybody else with questions? Councillor Marshall?
Thank you, Warden. Thank you for the presentation. A couple of questions I have on the 3 approaches for determining value. On the cost approach, you spoke of depreciation. Now, is that a physical depreciation, or is that just CRA 5%, 10%, whatever? How do you do that depreciation? By physical?
Yes, absolutely. So it would include physical depreciation. It could also include economic depreciation, or like some sort of functional obsolescence on the property. It would really depend property to property, but generally speaking, it's physical, like a straight line, physical depreciation over the life of the property.
Do you have a follow-up, and then I'll go to Councillor Sampson. Go ahead.
On that same slide, on the income, you spoke and said it's for commercial tenants. You do the income approach for valuation.
Yes. So it would be revenue-producing properties.
So those
typically it would be a tenanted property. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes they're owner-occupied, but typically it would be a tenanted property with an income stream that we would capitalize.
Okay, so that's just not commercial properties. That's residential properties as well.
It would include apartment buildings, office buildings,
Yeah,
retails, shopping malls,
Okay,
where the building is meant to rent out.
okay.
Great, thank you. Councillor Sampson, you had a question?
I did, yep. Thank you, Warden. So thank you, ladies, for the presentation. Sticking with the slide on the approaches, talking to some concerned residential property owners, these approaches, would it be more or less like and or an or? Like, would it be sales comparisons and income and cost? Or would you guys focus more on, you said the sales comparison was the quite common one. So is there a percentage of which one of those you would use when it comes to residential properties?
That is a great question. I don't think I have the answer at my fingertips, but I would say that would be the majority of properties, although residential could also be on cost. Anne, did you have any specifics?
The cost, sometimes, a lot of the times the cost will be useful for unique properties, things that don't transact in the market often, that we wouldn't have a lot of sales comparison for. So like a museum or churches, things like that would typically fall in the cost category.
I could follow up. If you'd like any follow-up information, please reach out and I could get some information for you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Councillor Sampson?
Hi, thanks again for this presentation. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit, and I remember we had somebody here before, and I think they went over it, but just for my own and the public's benefit, on the base date versus the state date, and just how that works, because it's beginning and end of a calendar year. So just so people have a better understanding of that, I was wondering if you could elaborate.
Sure. So the base date is January 1st of 2025 for the 2026 assessment roll. And that represents what the property would be valued at as or what it's worth, using market value approaches. And that would be based on both sales data and financial data, property data from calendar year 2024. So just to put that into perspective, we would be looking from January 1st to December 31st, 2024 for any sales that occur that would help create the market value for January 1st, 2025. The state date, and the reason that one is almost a full year past the base date, that is to represent the state of the property about a month prior to the assessment notices going out. So that would be the physical condition of the property. So if there's buildings on the property, if there's been any new construction, that type of thing.
Do you have a follow-up? Go ahead.
So yeah, thanks. Is it my understanding that would sort of adjust it up or down? Like you're taking a more vague view from the base date, and then a little bit more specific, or trying to determine, where that would fall on the state date. Is that correct?
I would just say that it's market value as of January 1st, and it's the condition of the property as of December 1st. I don't really have anything more to add to that. Anne, did you want to add anything?
Well, I guess an example would be a house under construction. At December 1st, it might be 50% complete. So it would be the market value of a new home, let's say condition, size, quality of a certain of that property, but at 50% because that's what was there December 1st. So the market value of a finished home, but at 50% as of the January 1 base date.
Okay.
It's what's on the property as of December 1st.
Okay, thank you. And that's good if that's a perfect example. I'm just thinking for most people, I'm assuming that variation is not going to come into play then. For the most part, is this?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question, and I want to apologize up front if you folks are presenting on something, and this is really not within the scope of the work that you particularly do at PVSC. So I'm perfectly fine with that's not my department. But this invitation to PVSC actually goes back to November when we received a letter from PVSC stating that, as is the case in many industries, costs have escalated in terms of benefits, in terms of IT and security. And listen, we've heard lots of stories in the media about why that needs to be top of mind. And so the motion of council was actually in response to a letter that we received saying that our costs, which the province has said municipalities will pay. It's not like we chose this, right? This is what the legislation outlines. But those costs are rising by 23%. And wondering if you can provide any information on that. And if the answer is that's sort of not my department, I'm okay with that, because I think residents are particularly concerned about the assessments that landed in their mailbox just a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, I can speak a little bit about it, but I might not be able to get into the full details. But PVSC did request an increase this year. I believe it was about 8%, and that is to reflect what you have just mentioned, the increase in operating costs, things like cybersecurity, postage, information technology, and those type of things are all, I guess, budget constraints in our organization, as well as I'm sure other organizations. So that was the rationale behind the request. In the previous few years, PVSC had been drawing on a reserve fund to offset the deficit within the cost to operate and of course what they were receiving from the municipalities, but unfortunately they don't have that funded anymore currently. So the request for the increase did come about after that. So that's really all I can specifically provide on that, but I would welcome any follow-up as well. Probably the government ministry, municipal affairs might also have some information. So hopefully that's satisfactory.
Yeah, I apologize. I think I may have said that the ask. I just want to make sure I misspoke there. I think I said the ask was 23. It's 24% has been the increase you are taking on at this point. The ask for us is currently 8%, with an additional anticipated increase of 8%, I think, in 2027-28, and another 4% in 28-29. So yeah, just sort of we were looking to get a little bit of information about that. So I appreciate that commentary. Councillor Marchand, did you have a question related to that, or either way, whatever?
Yeah, for Laura or Anne, when you guys speak of sales data and the criteria of the arm length sale or the willing buyer, during COVID, when homes were being initially sold for what people were asking for an amount for 6, 7, 8 years, like in my own community, and they weren't selling, the homes that came on the market afterwards, people were either speculating and putting the prices higher and higher and higher. How can you justify those as being total market, I guess, affecting the market values on homes? Can you say those are willing buyers or willing sellers? Because some of those people were putting high prices on their homes and saying, I really don't want to sell, but if I do get this. And we were getting people coming from out of province, Ontario, US, overseas, sold their homes for tons of money, and were coming here and looking at a house that would have never sold for $100,000 has peanuts. They were buying those and tearing them down to build something new. So how can you justify that as being a willing buyer?
Thank you for the question. And that is a very common question, particularly in the COVID and post-COVID analysis timeframe. So we do look at all sales that come across our desk from the land registry, as I mentioned earlier. And of course, we would be reviewing for that arm's length, the willing buyer and the willing seller, and doing due diligence to make sure that sale was qualified. So of course there will be outliers, and I'm sure during the COVID times that there may have been more outliers at that time. But that's why we look at the entire year worth of sales, so we have a really good cross section with the most available data we can. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking the time to zoom in, and thank you very much. And I think what we've heard tonight is that anybody who has any additional questions, that it's quite easy to get through to PVSC, and residents who have questions, it's like a 16-second wait to get through. So it was a nice little piece of information. So thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening.
Okay, folks, so we'll move on now to new business. There is just one item here, and this is something that we have had conversations about in around the specifics of this, but we are looking to, so there's information on the 3-year cost share agreement for subdivision streets from the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure renewal. And those are, information on that is page 35 to 45 of your package. Is there anything you want to speak to, CAO?
Sure. Thank you, Warden. This is just for us to stay in the program. You'll get the yearly list from us, and the list, there's no commitment to do any work at this point until we submit a list. And it's just to keep us in the program so that we can consider any J-class roads for the next 3 years in a cost sharing with the province.
So, happy to have some additional debate, but the motion we're looking for is that Committee of the Whole recommend to Council to authorize the Warden and CAO to sign a cost share agreement number 2026018.
And this is for 27 and on, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Deputy
moved.
Warden, so it's moved by Deputy Warden Membercat. Was that a second? Oh, sorry. Okay, so seconded by Councillor Brett Sampson. Is there any discussion on that? We had a clarifying question from Councillor Marchand that it is 27 moving forward.
How do we handle the additional work? And in here that there's examples of the sewer, any sewer work that's on the road, if they're elevating any of the manhole covers or whatever. Do we just get the province or the contractor to do it and bill us at whatever, or do we get information before?
How I would expect that to work.
To work. Okay. Because we have the option of going out on our own and doing that.
We do,
And we never do that, right?
to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion is carried. On page 46 is the Warden's report. Happy to entertain any questions. But if there are none, we will move on to the CAO's report. That is on pages 47 to 52 of your package. So if you have any questions for the CAO, I'm sure he is happy to entertain them as well. And I am hearing none. Okay, so it is now time to move on to the Volunteer of the Month Award, recognition, I should say, for January, and it is Pierre Larochelle from District 4. So Pierre never hesitates to give back to his community. He generously shares his time and expertise with numerous organizations throughout Richmond County, most recently supporting initiatives at the Bonnie Bray Seniors Club. Pierre is a dedicated volunteer at St. Peter's United Church, where he is currently the lead for major accessibility renovation projects and can be found there almost every day working to make the space more welcoming for all. When he is not involved in community projects, he contributes his knowledge and experience to the Bredor Lakes Biosphere, demonstrating deep commitment to people and places of the region. Please join us in recognizing Pierre for his hard work, dedication, and commitment to his community. We thank you for all you do in Richmond County. And as a proud, no doubt, District 4 resident, I would throw it over to Deputy Warden Mumbercat to say a few words.
Thanks, Warden. Yeah, I just, of course, would echo everything that's written in that statement. I think Pierre's contributions in the village of St. Peter's and surrounding areas, and even the wider geography of Cape Breton Island, is you can see his fingerprint on a lot of things, and everything from our community park, the community hub. These are things that Pierre has been volunteering his time and expertise to. He's got an engineering brain and a design brain that I envy greatly. So I want to just say thank you very much, Pierre, for everything that you do, and hopefully there will be lots more collaboration in the future for us all.
Wonderful. Anyone else have anything they'd like to make note of? I would like to give a shout out to a new business that has opened in Ayrshire, Scratch Golf, which I don't know a thing about, but I love it already, and I believe it involves privately, so no one can see your humiliation, enjoying an opportunity to be social and get to know the inner workings of golf and all the video that goes with that. And I think we've heard time and time again that one of the things that is a big part of most tourism strategies is to increase the amount of time that people stay here by giving them things to do. And I think this is a great addition to the community year round. So it's nice to think of people in Ayrshire in the middle of February golfing. So dreams are free. So shout out to those folks. Go ahead, Deputy Ward.
I can't wait to try it. I'm so excited. But I also wanted to give a shout out to or about an upcoming event that's happening. It will be happening at the Member 2 Trade and Convention Centre, but it is being hosted by the CEPI, the Collaborative Environmental Protection Initiative. It's a workshop that is, I think, running from the 10th to the 12th of March, if I'm not mistaken. And I just want to put that on people's radars, because that workshop is going to look at a variety of different pillars, including economic development pillars, in terms of how we can be moving forward in a sustainable way with development. So would encourage people to stay tuned for that and potentially participate if they're able to. So.
Lovely. Okay, great. So we'll move on now to correspondence. There is one item that requires action on our part, should we choose to do so. It is an email from Jennifer Enright, who is a volunteer with the Canadian Amyloidosis Support Network. Yes, I Googled that. Amyloidosis Awareness Month proclamation request. And to save the trouble, I will offer up a suggested motion with the pronunciation. So we are, if council is so inclined, it would require a motion that Committee of the Whole recommend to council to approve the proclamation to proclaim March as Amyloidosis Awareness Month in Richmond County. It's moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Brent Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. So there are some for your information items. I'll just list all four, but happy to entertain any conversation about any of them. A letter from the Honourable Julie DeBrusen, who is the Minister of Environment, Climate Change, Nature, regarding the boat ramp, and I believe she attached the letter that we sent. The letter that we sent as a result of the motion to council last month about the support for the need for a secondary exit for St. Martha's. Nova Scotia Power Rate letter came from Nicholas McGuinness, the warden of the Municipality of the County of Antigonish, and the Cape CB-REN's information and activity report, as well as Minister, the letter that we decided to send on that topic. Any conversation on any of those? Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. I was struck by the letter from the Municipality of Antigonish, in regards to the NSP power hike at this time. I think it's, I think it's a little bit insulting at this moment when people, I know most aren't now, but people are still getting estimated bills. And, you know, for them to come forward at this time and you know, determine that they know exactly the rate increase they need, when in reality they're not really sure of what people's, you know, usage even is. To me, that doesn't really, can't square that circle, I guess. I would be willing to put a motion forward to add our support to either a, you know, if you would want to write a similar letter or add our support to this specific letter.
So there is a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder for further discussion? Seconded by Councillor Sean Sampson. Any discussion on that? Yeah. Go ahead.
Warden and Councillor Brent, I guess one of the important things at the end of the second paragraph, where he even asks the Premier to explore public ownership again of the utility, I think that's very interesting. And I think the Premier should look at that. I realize that could be an incredible cost, but this has been an ongoing issue at NSP with rates. And we do pay amongst the highest across the country. So be it right, be it wrong, I think that's something that needs to be looked at. So I'd like that.
Yeah, could I ask for some clarification about that? I mean, this letter does speak to those two issues, essentially, the rate increase and, you know, the possibility of reacquiring Nova Scotia Power. Is it the wish of this motion that both of those be the subject of our support?
Yeah, I'm good with that, and I'm not, I don't have an answer as to whether or not, you know, I think that would be the right idea, but I think as far as asking the province to look into that kind of thing, I think it's, you know, it's been something asked by residents of the province, I think, for a long time now, and, you know, maybe the answer's no, but I think it would be incumbent on the government to maybe do a little further study on that.
Okay, so I have a sense of what you're asking, so if there's no other discussion on that, all those in, oh, go ahead, yes.
I guess the only further discussion would be whether or not council would prefer to just add our support to this letter or write write a letter all on our own. I think I'm fine with adding support to this letter. I think it captures, you know, my thoughts, but I'd be open to hearing from others.
I think there's a way to write a letter that says we're in support of this letter and to have sort of one voice to the same singing this. Yeah, we're just going to join the choir. Yeah, good. Okay, so having a sense of that, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns from the other letters or any other correspondence? Go ahead, Councillor. I think he's just waiting for us.
Just on item 5, 13B5, has that been sent?
Yes.
The February 4th? Okay.
Yes. And are you alluding to the wrong date?
No.
Is that the one that has the wrong date? Because we did fix the date, right?
We did, yeah.
With the letter? With the, yeah, this one's okay, though.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah, good. Yeah, the one in the package is okay.
The one in the package, yeah.
We
The one that was printed wasn't,
right, yeah.
the first one that went out.
The one that we sent had the right date.
it was just like the,
Yes, I know.
the agenda and the time, the minutes were actually a year ago. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Warden, I'm going to ask for some indulgence to jump back up to community acknowledgements for 1 second. If that's
Go ahead, we're, yep.
Thank you. Just your comment about scratch golf kind of prompted another congratulations that I wanted to say. It's to Fairy Dust Aesthetics, which has opened fairly newly in the Bredor Professional Center. So just wanted to say a welcome to that new business in our community as well in St. Peter's. Thank you for indulging me on that one.
Yes, no, that's great. Thank you. Always happy to support and acknowledge our new and relocating businesses in this instance. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to item 14 on your agenda is review of checks issued. For folks who like to follow this, it's on pages 74 to 80 of your package. And review of action items is item 15. If anybody has any questions about either 14 or 15, the review of action items is on pages 81 to 89. So happy to entertain anything on those. Hearing none, we have no additional items added to the agenda, and so we'll open it up now for a 15-minute question period. We do have, so I'll say the number first, 902-226-9885. We'll take questions from the gallery or by phone. For folks who are watching at home, that's the phone number I've given you, 226-9885. There's a slight delay, so I always feel like I'm talking slow through this little part. And reminder, this is not strictly about items on the agenda. So we'll just sit tight for a second in case we have any questions. Okay.
I think you're good.
It's always, yeah. So hearing none, and seeing that there is no further business on our agenda, the Committee of the Whole meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Great job.